What to stack with IGF-1 LR3. Stacking is one of the most valuable things when it comes to peptides, but it's also one of the most risky things you can do because you can put your body at risk when you're trying to optimize things. And so there's nothing wrong with stacking. Actually, peptides seem to work better when they're brought together. But what we'll talk about in this video is specifically the thinking process behind how to stack peptides with IGF-1 LR3, because this peptide, IGF-1 LR3, it's in a category of its own. It's a growth hormone releasing peptide. It mimics a lot of the same effects of IGF-1 that naturally occurs in your body. However, your natural IGF-1 will circulate for roughly 30 minutes before proteins bind it up. And the LR3, it removes those proteins so that IGF-1 signaling happens for 20 to 30 hours. So yes, side effects can be a real problem with low blood sugar, water retention, but on the flip side, there can be some very interesting things that can happen when you do this intelligently and safely, and when you think about the right pulsing and cycling. And so I'm Regan Archibald. I'm glad you're here. I make these videos because I became obsessed with peptides when I saw how well I improved in my recovery, my fitness, the way things worked metabolically. And then I saw that in thousands of clients that my team and I were working with and that we have worked with over the last 22 years. And so as we dive into IGF-1 LR3 or any other peptide, the very first place to start is go to agelessfuture.com and get your labs ran so that you can have a baseline to work off of to find out what's best for you. IGF-1, if you think about, it's targeting these very specific receptors called IGF-1R, and these cells are competing with insulin. Insulin is what gets secreted when you eat carbohydrates or eat food, and you do not want to have insulin present when you're using any kind of growth hormone peptide. And all the growth hormone peptides, they are working through this IGF-1 pathway. And so if you think about IGF-1, what it's doing is it's turning on pathways that can sustain these receptor occupancies for better muscle synthesis and protein synthesis. You're going to get more satellite cell activations. You'll get the formation of new muscles. IGF-1 also influences BDNF in the brain. It turns on and unlocks the expression of BDNF. IGF-1 also helps regulate glucose through the GLUT4 transportation. And it does this in a variety of ways. But one of the things, if you're looking at how to synergistically stack things with IGF-1, is IGF-1 has a risk that researchers call the U-shape. If it's too low, you've got risks of sarcopenia, so that's where you have the breakdown of muscle that gets replaced from fat, your blood vessels get brittle. You also have the risk, if it's too low, of having cognitive decline, and that's been well documented. You have poor glucose sensitivity, so metabolically you can lean more towards like diabetes and other issues. When it's too low, you don't sleep as well, you don't recover as well. On the other side, if it's too high and you have too much muscle growth through the mTOR pathway, you pose the risk of cancer. The other thing that can happen is you can start retaining water, your prolactin levels can get out of balance. You can also notice that you can have enlarged organs, and this is where growth hormone can be very risky. IGF-1 also carries a significant amount of that risk. So finding the balance, it all starts with getting your blood labs ran. See where your baseline IGF-1 levels are. When you're stacking peptides, the first principle you want to think of is, what does IGF-1 LR3, what's it actually working on? And this is a growth hormone releasing peptide. And so it's going to be working on similar pathways like CJC, 1295, ipamorelin would. And so, yes, you can stack these because you're going to be working on different pathways, but it may not be necessary. One of the things you can think about is, well, think about tissue repair and tissue recovery. Now, I've had a lot of videos that I've made on BPC 157, TB 500, and those work through angiogenesis, and they help with the formation of new blood vessels. They help with growth factor modulation and repair and recovery. TB 500, that promotes actin polymerization and tissue remodeling. So using those with IGF-1 LR3 for recovery protocols, injuries, those can be amazing. By the way, this is not me giving you medical advice. It's just me theoretically talking through ways of stacking these. The other thing you want to look at is anytime you're expressing mTOR, you want to think of getting fasting in, so you activate AMPK. You want to think of things like MOTC, because MOTC is going to inhibit myostatin and turn on follistatin. You want to think of SS31 to clear up that electron transport chain and fix the mitochondria. These are all really important things to consider. And then think about something like Cmax or dihexa for the brain because of the cognitive side of this IGF-1 LR3. And then on the immune side, if you're somebody who's struggled with like low white blood cells or immune issues, that's where thymosin beta-4 can be really helpful because it helps with a lot of the regulation of the mast cells in your body. And then thymosin alpha-1 because that regulates the Th1, Th2, Th17 response. And so stacking the peptides becomes really critical. From a detoxification perspective, make sure you're getting adequate levels of protein, ideally 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight. And you wouldn't want to use IGF-1 on the days that you're not exercising. And so ideally you're exercising what we call the 30-30 method, where you exercise 30 minutes in the morning or 45 or 60 minutes, whatever you need to get your workout done. And then in the evening, you want to exercise again for roughly 30 minutes. And that can be really important for you not having that overexpression of mTOR and getting the biggest benefits from IGF-1. And so IGF-1, a lot of people, there's duplicate stacking, MK677, probably not going to be helpful, CJC 1295. You may exceed the optimal range and put yourself at risk of some of the side effects that we talked about earlier. So make sure you get your blood panels ran. You're looking at the full body, get the full body image, CAT scan imaging, go to advanced body scan. They're in Plano, Texas, Oklahoma City, and Houston. And then anytime you're using peptides, make sure that you're working with a medical team that's trained and licensed. They work only with 503A compounding pharmacies. And that's where you can get the real benefits and offset some of the risks that many of these peptides have, because frankly, we need more clinical data. And for those of you who have had really good responses and you have your favorite stacks, love to hear what they are. Put it in the comments below. I'm Regan Archibald. For those of you who want to go deeper, just go to agelessfuture.com, and I will see you in the next video.